When the chef's laugh turned to shock, how a dishwasher changed everything at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, and a strange noise echoed through the empty kitchen of Marie's diner. It was a laugh deep, hearty, almost maniacal. But it wasn't the laugh of the head chef, Marco. He was supposed to be alone, scrubbing the remnants of midnight burgers and greasy fries. Yet, as he peered into the shadowy corners, his heart sank. The weight of an eerie presence slithered up his spine, sending a chill through his veins. Marco shook his head, convinced his tired eyes were playing tricks. After all, it was just him and the monotonous hum of industrial equipment. But then the dishwasher roared to life, its metallic whirring cutting through the silence like a knife. It had been off all night. Suddenly, flashes of light flickered from its depths, bright enough to light the dim space, feeling like a beacon luring him closer. Sweat trickled down his forehead as he took a cautious step forward. The fluorescent bulbs buzzed overhead, casting flickering shadows that danced across the walls like ghostly figures. A door creaked somewhere in the back, tension coiling tighter in Marco's gut. Was it the waitstaff closing up, or was there something else lurking in the folds of darkness? As his heartbeat thundered in his chest, Marco gripped the edge of the sink, his fingers trembling. Something was wrong. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. His breath hitched as the dishwasher belched out a cloud of steam, swallowing the room in thick fog. He blinked rapidly, trying to clear his vision. A figure emerged from the mist. A person? No, it was a shape, dark and indistinct. His heart raced, pounding like a drum against his ribs. What was happening? The laughter echoed again, lifting the hairs on the back of his neck. It was closer now, hauntingly joyful, sharp against the distress of the moment. He couldn't just stand there, frozen with fear. With his stomach twisting, Marco took another step forward, his eyes locked on the shadow. The figure was growing clearer, and just as fast, it seemed to ripple away, like a mirage evaporating under the sun. There was nothing left but the tapping sound of water dripping from the sink into a puddle of discarded dish soap. Then, silence. The air throbbed with anticipation, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Marco's mind raced. Could he be going crazy? Was he actually alone? Was this place haunted? Each thought twisted deeper into panic, gripping him tightly like a vice. What happened next would change everything. Marco's heart was still racing, and he struggled to breathe as he scanned the kitchen again, desperately searching for answers. The steam hung in the air like a shroud, wrapping him in a suffocating embrace. Footsteps echoed faintly from somewhere in the diner. Were they real? Or just another trick of his mind, playing games with his frayed nerves? He shook his head. Focus, Marco. He edged closer to the dishwasher, still rattling as if it had a life of its own. The lights flickered once more, and he could have sworn he saw a flash of something. No, someone within its depths. The memory of the laughter bounced around his head, wild and chaotic. Just then, the dishwasher's door swung open with a loud clang, startling him backward. He stumbled back, eyes wide. Nothing was there. Only the deep, metallic cavity of the machine stared back at him, emptiness mocking his fears. Just then, a thud resonated from the back of the diner, deep and resonating as if something heavy had fallen. Sweat dripped from his brow, stinging his eyes as he strained to hear anything above the hum of the equipment. Hello? Marco's voice trembled as it escaped his lips. The silence roared back at him, a vivid testament to the emptiness surrounding the diner at this ghostly hour. He took a slow step toward the door leading to the back, his instincts screaming at him to run, yet something deeper urged him to uncover the truth. As he hesitated, that same deep laugh erupted again, shattering the quiet and filling Marco with a cold dread. It echoed off the stainless steel and glazed countertops. It was coming from behind the door, a place he had always regarded as mundane and boring, the storeroom for supplies, a gloomy corner of his workspace. But now, it reeked of ominous uncertainty. Pushing aside the rising tide of panic, Marco pressed on, grasping the cold metal handle and twisting it slowly. The creaking of the door echoed in the stillness, amplifying the pounding of his heart. What lay ahead? Could it really be anything other than a fragment of his imagination, fueled by exhaustion and isolation? Just about to toss in the towel, he swung the door wide. A gust of stale air greeted him, the strong scent of mold and forgotten food overwhelming his senses. However, it was the sight that made his blood run cold. Piled on the floor, boxes lay scattered, but it was the figure standing oddly still amongst the debris that sent his spine tingling. A silhouette of a woman, her back turned, head bowed, as if she were ignoring him. "Are you okay?" Marco dared to speak, his voice barely breaking the thick tension in the small room. She didn't respond. The laughter pierced the air again, and chills ran through him, freezing him in place. This wasn't happening. Was he losing his mind? He stepped inside, but before he could reach her, she spun abruptly. That's when Marco froze in shock. The face of a young girl looked back at him, wide-eyed and shadowed, skin pale as a ghost. "Don't look away," she whispered urgently, a strange urgency in her tone. "They're coming." The laughter escalated into a cacophony around them, filling every corner of the diner, echoing off the wall, and drowning out every rational thought. Marco's breath came in ragged gasps as he took a step back, caught between the chilling sight of this girl and the overwhelming fear that filled the room. What was happening? Who was this girl? And who was coming? As the laughter crescendoed, Marco knew one thing for certain: the diner would never be the same again. What truth lay beneath the surface of this haunting night? And could he escape before it all went wrong? Marco's pulse quickened, a steady drumbeat echoing in the silence around him. The girl's eyes bore into his, wide with a mixture of fear and urgency that sent a shiver down his spine. He glanced back toward the door, his instincts clamoring for him to flee, yet he couldn't tear himself away from her haunting gaze. "What do you mean they're coming?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The air felt charged with an energy he couldn't explain, as if unseen forces were gathering just outside the diner walls. "Please," she pleaded, her voice rising above the laughter that filled the air. "You have to hide. They won't stop until they get what they want." Marco's mind raced. Get what? Who were they? The laughter faded momentarily, creating a suffocating void that made his skin crawl. Then it returned, louder and more menacing, swirling around them like a storm. Somehow, the sounds echoed not only in his ears but deep within his very bones. "Who are you?" he asked, hoping to plug the gap of uncertainty that threatened to engulf him. "I'm Lily." Her expression darkened, and tears glittered in her eyes. "But it doesn't matter. They're coming for you, too. You need to listen." The urgency in her voice snapped Marco's thoughts into focus. He glanced around the storeroom, searching for somewhere to hide or something he could use. But the space felt claustrophobic, the cardboard boxes and dusty cans mere obstacles in a now perilous cage. "Listen to me." Lily's eyes darted toward the door, panic flaring in her expression. "You can't let them see you. If they see you, you'll vanish like everyone else." Before he could respond, the laughter swelled, spilling into the storeroom like a malevolent tide. The wall vibrated with the sound, and the lights flickered violently, battling against the darkness that pressed in around them. Marco could feel a strange pressure in his chest, an instinctual dread that made every hair on his body stand on end. Without thinking, he took a step closer to Lily, desperation intertwining with disbelief. "Why are you here? What do they want?" "The diner, it's a trap," she hissed, her voice intense. "Don't trust anyone." You have to escape now. Then, as if to punctuate her warning, something slammed hard against the door, rattling the frame. A collective gasp slipped from Marco's lips. He pressed his back against the opposite wall, heart racing like a jackhammer, fear clawing at his throat. "Lily!" he shouted, fighting to maintain his composure. "What do we do?" Suddenly, Lily's expression changed. She froze, staring at the door as if she could see through it. Her face drained of color, her mouth opening slightly. Here and then, the laughter fell silent, plunging the room into an eerie stillness that stretched long and heavy like a thick fog. Marco's breath hitched as the door creaked open slowly, revealing a shadowy figure just beyond the threshold. All he could make out were two glowing eyes, glimmering like blades cutting through the dark. "Change is coming," Marco, a low voice whispered, echoing eerily through the dim space. Panic surged within him, pushing him back toward the darkness of the storeroom, urging him to flee. But he couldn't tear his eyes away from that terrible gaze. "What do you want from me?" he croaked. The weight of fear and uncertainty bore down on his chest, and time seemed to stall as he braced himself for whatever horror was about to unfold. As the figure stepped forward, Marco's mind screamed to run, to escape. But rooted in place, he realized his fate was inextricably tied to the shadows that lingered in the corners of this diner. What would happen now that he was trapped between the haunting past and a lurking future? And what terrible truth would reveal itself when the veil of silence broke? The figure stepped into the glow of the flickering lights, revealing a gaunt, pale face that seemed like it had been drawn with ink-sharp features, sunken cheeks, and a grin that felt wrong. It twisted on its lips, an expression that was more sinister than it was welcoming. Marco's heart thundered in his ears, drowning out the world around him. "Who are you?" he managed to say, his words breaking like thin glass. The figure leaned closer, the light catching those cold, unreadable eyes. "I am what you might call an agent of change." His voice coiled around Marco like smoke. You're here for me?" Marco's throat was dry, the fear mounting as he fought against the urge to back away. "Not just you, Marco. You're only a piece of a much larger puzzle." The figure's grin widened, revealing teeth too sharp to be human. "It's time to awaken." Behind him, Lily gasped, breaking the electrifying tension that hung in the air. "No. You can't." The figure turned its attention to her, and for a moment, the laughter returned. It was chilling, a cacophony that echoed in sharp waves. The sound drained the warmth from the room, leaving Marco icy and frozen in place. His instincts screamed for him to move, to run, but it was as if he were caught in a web spun from fear itself. "Leave her out of this," he yelled, desperation kicking in. "She's helped me." The figure tilted its head, observing Marco with an unsettling interest as though weighing his resistance. "Too late for that, dear boy. She knew the risks when she entered this realm." "Realm?" Marco echoed, the word tasting strange on his tongue. The diner, a seemingly simple place, had transformed into something unrecognizable, and the stakes had never felt higher. With a sudden movement, the figure extended a hand, fingers like twigs grasping the air. "Follow me, and I'll show you the truth of your existence. You think this diner is a trap, but the real trap lies within your soul. It's time to confront it." "No!" Lily shouted, stepping forward. "Don't listen to him, Marco. It's a trick." Her eyes begged him, pleading with a mix of fear and defiance. Marco stood torn, struggling to comprehend the gravity of her words while the figure radiated an oppressive energy, drawing him closer with every heartbeat. "Trust your instincts, Marco. You were born for this moment," the figure hissed, each syllable dripping with deceitful charm. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness briefly before illuminating pulsating shadows that danced on the walls. Marco's breath quickened. If he stayed, would he learn the truth or be consumed by whatever darkness had come for him? If he ran, would he ever escape the shadows that threatened those he tried to protect? "I want to let you take him." Lily's voice soared through impending chaos. "Enough." The figure's tone was sharp, slicing through tension like a knife. Your choices are irrelevant. Marco felt his world tilt, the ground beneath him shifting like loose sand. In that moment, he locked eyes with Lily. Her resolve ignited something within him, a flicker of hope amidst the dread. Marco, you can fight this. She shouted, and in her voice, he found the courage to resist. Don't let him fool you. We can escape together. With each pulse of defiance, clarity broke through the fog of his fear. Suddenly, the diner windows shattered as a force outside unleashed an onslaught of chaos. The figure screamed, flickering like a dying light bulb, but the shadows surged, seeking the comfort of the unknown. Go now. Marco shouted to Lily, but the room was filled with a disorienting rush of sound and movement, threatening to pull them apart. They were at a crossroads, filled with conflicting emotions and choices. Would they stand and face the darkness together, or would fear fracture their bond forever, leaving one of them to be swallowed whole by the abyss? With the shadows creeping closer, Marco felt the weight of his decision pressing against his chest. He reached for Lily's hand, ready to either run into the night or dive into the looming darkness. What awaited them if they took that leap? Or was there more to uncover within the walls of the diner, secrets that had yet to awaken? The answer felt agonizingly close, but the truth had never been more out of reach. The chaos exploded around them. Glass rained down like deadly confetti, shattering the illusion of safety that the diner had once provided. Marco tightened his grip on Lily's hand, digging his fingers into her palm as if that could shield them from the impending darkness. Run! He yelled, pulling her toward the back exit. They needed to escape this madness, to break free from the figure's grasp before it consumed them whole, but the shadows had other plans. They writhed and coiled like living snakes, blocking the exit with an insatiable hunger. Marco skidded to a halt, panic swirling in his chest. This way! He shouted, dragging Lily towards the kitchen. Desperation fueled his movements. Inside, the atmosphere thickened, each breath felt heavy with dread. The usual clatter of pots and pans had morphed into whispers, voices curling from the shadows like fingers clutching at their sanity. Marco glanced back, the figure emerged through the fallen debris, a monstrous silhouette gleaming in the dim light as it wove closer. Your journey isn't over, Marco. It mocked, the voice echoing off the walls. You think you can escape? The truth is everywhere waiting to be unearthed. Lily's eyes were wide with fear, but there was something more, an ember of determination flickering. We need to find the source. She urged, her voice steady despite their peril. It's here, in the diner. The power, it must be tied to what's happening. As Marco scanned their surroundings, the kitchen felt alive. The greasy tiles were sticky and forbidding. He moved toward the back where the old refrigerator hummed, an eerie accompaniment to their predicament. What about this? He gestured, his heart racing. Lily nodded, urgency written across her features. It might have something to do with the shadows. Let us open it. The figure's laughter cut through the air, sharp as shards of glass. You should heed my warning, little ones. Unearthing the truth often brings forth despair. Ignoring it, Marco yanked the fridge door, the rusty hinges groaning like a wounded beast. Inside, nothing but stacks of forgotten food, their contents long past expiration and coated with a layer of dust. Except for one item, a small, ornate box tucked into a corner, its surface glinting ominously in the dim light. Marco! Lily gasped, reaching for the box. This may be it. This might hold the key to everything. Just as she lifted it out, a cold wind swept through the kitchen, extinguishing the small bulb above. An unnatural frost enveloped them, sent shivers racing up their spines. The shadows crept closer, almost alive, swirling hungrily around the two of them, sensing their vulnerability. Open it. Marco urged, feeling time slipping like sand through his fingers. With trembling hands, Lily pulled the lid, revealing a darkness that seemed to pulse and breathe. Thick mist flowed out, swirling around them, almost like tendrils taking form. Inside, they saw glimpses of warped memories, flashes of lives not their own, voices cried in agony, laughter turned sinister, twisted faces flashing by. "Shut it!" Marco yelled, fear clenching like a fist around his heart. "We can't let it in." But it was too late. A surge of energy burst forth from the box, a cacophony of voices intertwined into a single entity. "You've awakened us," it hissed, and the shadows recoiled as if in fear. "Now, you must either submit to the darkness or embrace the chaos." Marco's breath came faster, the weight of the decision crashing over him. Would he succumb to the shadows or stand against the tides of despair? He grabbed Lily's hand tighter. "We have to fight." But with that declaration, a new realization broke like dawn within the swirling storm. The answer they sought wasn't in confronting the shadows but understanding them. Could they harness the chaos instead of fleeing from it? The figure watched with gleeful anticipation, its sharp grin stretching impossibly wide. "Do you think you can comprehend what you've unleashed?" It taunted, darkness swirling in its wake. The tension hung heavy in the air. They were on the brink of a decision. One wrong move, and everything could crumble into oblivion. Was the truth a weapon or a burden? As the dark mist curled around their ankles, Marco felt it, the storm brewing within him. The shadows were calling, and he needed to choose. What if, instead of running, they could fight fire with fire? The moment loomed, charged with potential, as they prepared to face whatever came next. But would their choice open a doorway to salvation or lead them further into the dark abyss? The ground trembled beneath their feet, hinting at the answer lying just out of reach. Their hearts raced, beating against the walls of fate, and a haunting question lingered in the air, whispering promises of change. What if the shadows were only the beginning? The shadows thickened, eager to swallow them whole. Marco felt the weight of the box in Lily's hands, a silent promise of power and danger. It trembled as if it longed to be unleashed, but his heart raced at what they might find within. "Stay focused, Marco." Lily's voice broke through the chaos, but fear clung to her each word. What if this is the answer? The figure, still looming, shifted with each flicker of light, a predator savoring its prey. "Knowledge can be a cruel master," it taunted. "You'll wish you never dared tread down this path. Are you ready to give in?" "I refuse," Marco shouted, his voice ringing with defiance. The energy surrounding them crackled, warmth battling the cold. "We're not afraid of what's inside." Together, Lily whispered, her determination rekindling. She gripped the box tighter. The mist spilled out like liquid night, curling, twisting, weaving into forms that flitted in and out of perception. Faces, memories, images laden with pain swirled through the air. Marco's breath hitched. He recognized them, flashes of loss and sorrow the diner's past whispered like tragic hymns. "Let the past be buried." The figure shrieked, its voice shrill and broken. "You cannot change what has already been written." But a spark ignited in Lily's eyes, a sudden understanding. "No. It's not just sorrow, it's unfinished business." Marco could feel the energy shifting, a pulse that mirrored his own. "What if this is how we fight back? If we open this, maybe we can control it." Yet doubt gnawed at him. "Or it can consume us," he replied, his heart a heavy drum. "Then we'll fight for what's right. For them," she declared, lifting the box higher. Everything went still. The shadows paused, as if sensing their resolve. Marco's pulse raced. He could feel the cold mist biting at him, urging him to retreat, to flee. But Lily's unwavering grip bolstered his courage. "On three," she said, a fierce fire in her gaze. 1, 2. A thunderous crash shattered the moment, a door splintering open somewhere in the diner. The icy spell was broken, the shadows recoiling as something else pressed in a chorus of shouts and footsteps. "Hey! You two okay?" A voice rang out, metallic and distant as if from another world. "Not now," Marco shouted, still focused on Lily and the box. "We have to," but something else was happening. Shimmering fragments from the box began to rise, spiraling upward, coiling to form ghostly shapes in the air. Faces of people he couldn't recognize emerged, each one filled with anguish and regret. Their mouths moved, but no sound emerged. "What are they saying?" Marco asked, panic blooming, but Lily didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the spectral figures forming before them, mouths stretching into silent screams. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, sending them stumbling against the kitchen counter. The faces burst forth from their bonds, rushing towards Marco, swirling, whispering, a cacophony of thoughts and emotions flooding his mind. He staggered back, gasping at the overwhelming tide of energy crashing into him. "I can't, Lily, I can't handle this. Focus. Find the strength," she urged, her voice cutting through his rising panic. But the shadows surged back with ferocity, reclaiming the space they had lost, threatening to drown out the spirits that struggled against them. The fear in Marco's gut twisted tighter. Would the voices help them find a way out, or would they be crushed beneath the weight of every lost soul? Just then, he heard a familiar laugh rising above the chaos. It echoed with recognition, and for a fleeting moment, it felt grounding. "Marco, Marco," it called. "Who is there?" he shouted, trying to cut through the noise. The form of a woman emerged from the fog, a warm grin hanging on her face. "Do you even know what you've tapped into?" she whispered. Marco's heart raced. Was she a friend or another illusion? Lily grasped his arm, panic flaring. "Don't listen to it. It could be another trick." But the woman stepped closer, her gaze piercing through the chaos with a striking clarity. "The key lies in your fear, Marco. Embrace it. Use it." The shadows tightened, the claustrophobic darkness smothering them again. "Submit." The figure screamed, its voice dripping with malice, vibrating through Marco's bones. The box pulsed in Lily's hands, that dark energy hungry for release. What would it mean to embrace fear? Could they channel it, or would it consume them entirely? As the edges of his vision blurred, Marco felt the weight of countless memories pushing against him. What would they awaken in their fight against despair? And in that moment, he realized they could either drown in the darkness or become its master. "Lily!" he shouted, just as everything began to shift. The shadows lunged, and the woman faded into mist, leaving him with a terrifying choice and the echo of her words still ringing in his ears. The diner trembled around them, and they stood on the brink of something life-altering. But time flickered uncertainly as the thick fog expanded, closing in on them. Would they find the courage to wrest control from the darkness, or would they slip into a void that would swallow everything whole? The shadows whispered an answer, and their decision loomed like a storm on the horizon. The shadows lunged forward, and in that heart-stopping instant, Marco felt himself becoming untethered. The diner's familiar scents, the frying oil, stale coffee, the lingering hint of burnt toast morphed into a smothering blanket of dread, suffocating him. He could barely breathe, his lungs contracting as the whispers swirled around him, a storm of terror and memories clawing relentlessly at his sanity. "Lily!" he gasped, clutching at the air like a lifeline. He saw her battling her own demons, gripping the box like a shield, determination carved into her features. The shadows surged forward again, clawing at their surroundings, edging ever closer like dark tendrils seeking out the light. "Now!" she shouted, unwilling to be swallowed by the rising tide. She thrust the box towards the spiraling mist, as if willing it to part. Marco's heart thundered in his chest. There was no turning back now, the air thickened, charged with a strange energy. The box shuddered violently before settling, its surface buzzing. An imminent eruption hovered just out of reach. A chorus of gasps brimming with pain and grief crackled through his mind, each voice resonating with loss. Was it a plea for help? Or a warning that they were digging deeper into a pit of despair they could never escape? "Embrace it," the spectral woman had said. Marco felt her insistent words echoing in his thoughts, but refusing to be pinned down by mere memory. "What if we fail?" he whispered through clenched teeth, desperation lacing his voice. Then we'll just have to fight harder, Lily replied, her eyes ablaze with fierce resolve. She turned to the swirling shadows, we command you. With a roar of defiance, she swung the box open, unleashing a blinding light. The spectral form stopped mid-motion, hovering as if caught in a moment of suspended disbelief. The glowing energy washed over them, illuminating their anguished faces. For a breath, everything froze. The diner's shadows recoiled, but then the figures surged spitefully, an overwhelming wave against the flickering light. Look! Marco shouted, as he caught a glimpse of someone familiar, a kid from the diner who used to come in for pancakes after school, beaming with laughter. The pain in his eyes mirrored Marco's own gut-wrenching memories. Lily, they're lost. We can't leave them here. He yelled over the encroaching darkness. They need us to remember. Emboldened, Marco reached for the box, leaning into the warmth that glowed within. A part of him, some primal instinct, urged him forward, igniting the courage to confront the pain he had always buried. We can't run any longer. Together, Marco. Lily's voice pierced through the chaos. Their fingers grasped the edges of the box, linking their strength, intertwining their resolve. With a deep breath, they steadied themselves. Let them speak. They chanted as one, feeling the echoes of every lost soul within the diner spill through their lips. Suddenly, the phantoms tugged back, a whirlwind of emotion blasting towards their hearts. Every flicker of laughter, every painful moment, every whisper of dread surged, binding them into this singular reality. The courage to feel to heal. Lily's voice broke through, less as a statement and more a realization. The shadows rippled violently, trying to snuff out their resolve, but they stood firm, the radiant light growing, amplifying their shared strength. The walls of the diner began to shake as the mist shrieked, battling against the light with a fury unknown. Marco's breath came in gasps, despair clawing at the edge of his gut, but they pushed on. The anger and hurt of those lost pressed against him, but buried within was a chance, a hope, a flicker of brightness. What if facing them means losing ourselves? Marco shouted, anxiety creeping in. What if it means saving them? Lily replied, eyes gleaming with fierce determination. This is our chance. The shadows screamed in outrage, crashing against their brave front. But as the weight of grief reared, Marco and Lily didn't flinch. Together, they could channel that fear into something powerful, needed. As the box pulsed and the mist twisted around them, the fate of the diner hung by a delicate thread. Would they unravel the truth or be trapped in an endless cycle of despair? In that breathless moment, as the dark and light clashed ferociously, they felt that the world around them vibrating with the specter of change. And somewhere in that struggle, a new voice surged, a whisper from the depths of the fog, a lingering note longing to be freed. Who are you really? It shimmered like glass on a summer's day, warm and piercing, but also laced with malice. As the shadows surged again, Marco and Lily braced themselves. They had no idea how deep this truth went, or what it would require from them to find it. Light wavered, pulsating between hope and despair as Marco and Lily stood together, their fingers gripping the box as though it were the last anchor in a storm. The sinister shadows danced around them, howling like a banshee, twisting memories they fought to embrace. Every scream, every echo of sorrow wrapped tighter around their souls. The words hung in the air, thick with the weight of expectation. Who are you really? Echoed from the void, demanding an answer they barely understood. The corners of the diner blurred as the light tried to stretch and fend off the advancing darkness, but it flickered like a candle in a violent wind. Marco's chest tightened with fear, his heart racing. Lily, we need to respond or everything will collapse. He managed to say, the dread creeping deeper. Who are we? She mused, her brows furrowing in concentration. In that moment, the shadows seemed to pulse more rhythmically, almost anticipating their reply. What if we're not who we think we are? Marco felt the words trickle past his lips as he realized the import of the question. Each lost echo was a fragment of their essence, waiting to be pieced back together. We're the sum of our fears, our memories, but what if we can become more than that? A shadow lunged closer, its icy tendrils brushing against his skin, and he flinched. Instinctively, he squeezed Lily's hand tighter, drawing strength from her unwavering gaze. "Let us show them," she shouted, her voice a battle cry rising above the clamor. The memories of the diner's patrons flooded Marco's mind, faces etched with sorrow and joy, laughter that had slipped into shadows. "We are those moments," he yelled. "Every smile that was ever shared here. Every hope that was ever kindled." Light surged from the box once again, stretching and illuminating the diner's space. The shadows recoiled, revealing glimpses of victims lost in time, a waitress who had tended to his coffee, a couple celebrating an anniversary, children dining with dreams in their eyes. With each revelation, a pang of sorrow sliced through him, but so did determination. "Remember." Marco and Lily called in unison, their voices melding, creating a counter-hymn to the shadows. The other souls trapped in despair churned as the light intensified, pushing against the chaos that had consumed them. Suddenly, a deafening silence fell. Everyone, the lost, the forgotten, halted, suspended in energy, as if their very existence clung to the fragile moment of acceptance unfolding. "Now is the time to claim what was stolen," Marco shouted, and without hesitation, they thrust the box forward, pouring every ounce of shared memory, pain, and light into it. The energies collided, twisting into a vortex that spiraled towards the heart of the shadows, and there it was amidst the turmoil a revelation. A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked in the swirling fog. Marco squinted, recognizing a face he hadn't expected to see. It was the chef from the diner, whose laughter had once filled the air with warmth, now locked in sorrow, eyes wide with shock. "Chef!" Lily gasped, the light illuminating their path. "You're alive, how?" But before she could finish, the shadows surged, threatening to swallow the revelation. "You have to choose." The chef's voice wavered, heavy with the toll of the past. "You can't rescue everyone without forsaking your own souls." Marco's heart pounded painfully in his chest. Their collective past loomed before them, a tapestry of joy marred by loss. If they dared to venture deeper, would their identities be unraveled in this fray? "What will you sacrifice for those you love?" The chef's eyes pierced through him, demanding honesty amidst the chaos. This was their confrontation. This was the defining moment. "Will we risk it all?" Marco whispered to Lily, glancing at the deepening shadows once more. The boldness in her eyes flickered like the light surrounding them. "We don't really know what it means to be lost until we confront it. We'll never heal without the truth." As the shadows writhed and screamed, flickers of hope burst forth, yet doubt clawed at the edges of their resolve. What terrible choices lay ahead? And just as everything seemed to shift once more, the chef's voice broke through again, seemingly echoing from everywhere. "Truths long buried can shatter the very essence of who you are." What truth awaited them in the heart of the shadows? An icy realization sank in. They stood at the precipice, a mere breath away from unearthing the secrets that could either save or destroy them. What were they truly willing to face? The shadows swirled, pulsing with fury, as Marco and Lily felt a magnetic pull toward the chef. His presence solidified in the eye of the storm, but with it came an oppressive weight. Marco glanced at Lily, the question coursing between them: would the truth they sought free them or bind them tighter in darkness? "You're the one who knows," Lily shouted, her voice breaking the stillness. "Tell us what to do." The chef's expression was grave, a storm of emotions boiling beneath his surface. "To save the others you must confront your own ghosts," he urged. "Only by facing the truth can you alter fate." Marco's gut twisted. The memories, the laughter, the life that had filtered through the diner were a double-edged sword. A shiver coursed through him. What if their ghosts weren't just remnants of the past, but shadows that lived unhidden beneath sorrow and regret? "Face what?" Marco asked, his heart pounding as he edged closer to the chef. "What are we meant to confront?" A low growl reverberated through the shadows, and for a split second, fear eclipsed courage. Marco felt Lily's small but firm hand in his, grounding him. "Tell us." she urged again. We won tea back down. The chef's eyes brightened, reflecting flickers of hope. You must embrace your past, the pain you've buried. He took a breath, his voice slowing as deep grit filled his tone. Every scream, every laugh, remember what you've done, what has been taken from you. Suddenly, the diner around them shifted. Tables splintered into memories, fragments of joyous celebrations bursting back into existence. Marco felt his heart racing as laughter filled the air, but with it came whispers of despair, old grievances clawing to be heard. Do you remember the dishwasher? The chef asked, his gaze penetrating. How their story was left in ashes, buried by apathy. Alex, Marco whispered, a name that conjured a long-lost friend. The dishwasher's fate had always haunted him, the tragic accident that robbed them of a brilliant smile. They'd been too young, too carefree to face the dark winds that swept him away. Lily's expression shifted, as realization dawned. Alex, we never spoke of him again. Her voice cracked, the shadows twisted again, blurring the moment, mocking their realization. A low rumble echoed, threads of darkness straining to tighten around them. No. We have to bring him into the light. Marco cried, taking a step forward. We can't leave him behind. The chef nodded solemnly, urging them on. Each ghost will bring its truth. Unravel what binds you, and you might discover the light. But before Marco could respond, a throaty laugh pierced through the shadows, chilling his bones. The darkness laughed back, grinning, gnashing its teeth. It seemed alive, feeding on their fear. Marco, Lily, the shadows coiled tightly around them, sinister voices mingling with the laughter. Are you ready to confront the truth? With a surge of resolve, Marco locked eyes with Lily. We have to. We have to face Alex. Together. He felt every ounce of doubt crumbling as he spoke, replaced with a fierce determination. The chef's eyes glimmered with gratitude. Then remember the laughter, the joy, and call him forth. As Marco's shout echoed through the diner, the shadows pulsated like a dark heartbeat, threatening to envelop them completely. But there, amidst the clamor of lost memories, a flicker of light ignited inside Marco. Alex! He shouted, voice steady despite the chaos swirling. We won't leave you behind. Come back to us. The response was immediate, a tumult of shadows twisted in fury, an enraged howl slicing through the air. But in the eye of that storm, a distant glow began to shimmer. What awaited them as Alex emerged from the depths? Would the reunion illuminate their darkest fears, or would it threaten to consume their very souls? As the light began to break open the shadows, Marco and Lily braced for whatever truth lay ahead. But the question loomed, heavy as the darkness surrounding them: would they recognize their friend, or would the truth shatter their very existence? The silhouettes billowed like smoke, twisting and churning in a whirlwind of unspent emotion. Marco and Lily stood firm, hands clasped tightly, tethered to one another. The shadows roared, but the shimmering light of the box held its ground, stretching to encompass the chaos. Alex! Marco shouted again, his voice laced with desperation and hope. It echoed, slicing through the storm while dissolving the haze. We're here. We're not leaving you behind. A piercing wail cut through the shadows, a reminder of loss and longing spiraling back into recollection. The darkness recoiled, rippling like an offended beast, but then a flicker, a light battling to emerge from within. Slowly, it coalesced, shimmering like stars peeking through a stormy sky, and then, through the tumult, a figure stepped forth. Hair tousled and eyes wide, it was Alex, embodying unspent laughter, the joy of 1,000 delightful moments frozen in time. Marco, Lily, his voice was a whisper, fragile as a new dawn breaking the gloom. Alex! They both gasped together, feeling as if the air had just been filled with life. Emotion swelled in their chests, and excitement mingled with trepidation. The shadows fluttered, trying to ensnare him. Don't look away. You'll lose me again. Panic scrabbled within Marco's gut. We won tea. We promise. He felt the box vibrating, the light amplifying their connection. Stay with us. Remember who you are. Lily shouted, her voice fueled by frantic urgency. You belong with us. Don't let them win. The shadows hissed, a venomous chorus wrapping around Alex, but Marco stepped forward, reaching towards his friend. Feel your laughter. The joy we shared. Suddenly, those beautiful moments cascaded through the air, flashes of childhood memories filled with warmth, light, and love, bursting like fireworks against the midnight sky. With each memory that surfaced, the shadows faded, unknowingly relinquishing their hold. No. A chilling voice rasped, reverberating like thunder through the confines of the diner. The figure still watching, eyes smoldering in anticipation, hunched closer, its sinister grin widening. You think you can save him? You'll only expose yourselves. Shut up. Marco spat, shaking with fury. You can't win. His heart surged with newfound strength, fueled by the essence of Alex. With Lily by his side, they channeled memories of laughter, friendship, and joy. They climbed higher, as if standing atop the world, embraced by every flicker of love they had felt, and suddenly, right there, amidst the merging light and shadow, Alex transformed. Each laugh they remembered became a part of the illumination. The moments of hope, freedom, and innocence became their weapons. Don't forget us. Alex cried, his spectral form melting back into the light. I'm here, we're all here. With that mantra, the swirling darkness recoiled in terror before bursting apart, revealing trapped souls, friends, family, forgotten patrons, each one breaking away from the void, pouring back into a light of remembrance. The diner's familiar sounds, a clanking of dishes, the sizzling of food, the ambient chatter resurfaced, drowning out the threatening silence. The shadows screamed, furious and impotent, unable to withstand the collective joy blazing forth. Feel it. Marco shouted, heart pounding. The love is stronger than fear. Just as the shadows clawed back, a blinding light exploded from the box, fierce and radiant. All around them, the lost souls began to dance, swirling together, forming a powerful counterattack against the encroaching darkness. One by one, they connected, weaving tales of laughter and pain, a tapestry that shone brighter than the deepest abyss. As the figure writhed in fury, the air crackled with energy, a clash of cosmic proportions. Marco's breath quickened. There was no turning back now. Embrace the truth. Lily cried again, her voice unwavering. Let them go. Together. Marco shouted. Embrace the light. And with a final surge of collective energy, they thrust the box forward, illuminating a pathway through the remnants of the shadows. Marco reached for Alex, whose laughter echoed in his heart, and it guided them safely through the tumult. As they plunged into the brilliance, the shadows howled one last time before dissipating into nothingness. The diner's atmosphere shifted, growing warm and vibrant, filled with the sweet notes of laughter, forever echoing within its walls. They stood in the aftermath, panting yet triumphant, grounded by the realization of their journey. Marco felt the warmth of the memories surrounding them, the sweetness of laughter mingling with the scent of coffee rising fresh. The weight of despair began to lift. They faced each other, exhausted yet unstoppable, hearts racing with purpose and joy. Working here was never just about the diner, Lily said softly, eyes sparkling. It was about connection, about remembering those we lost, allowing their stories to breathe. Yeah, Marco breathed, overwhelmed with gratitude. We're here, alive together. Just then, the chef emerged from the shadows, his once sorrowful expression transformed into a proud smile. You did it. You embraced not just the chaos, but the essence of what it means to be alive. Marco nodded, understanding washing over him like balm. The path ahead would be challenging but rich, threaded with laughter shared and fear faced. And more importantly, they wouldn't face it alone. They were surrounded by warmth, connection, and a community built on love. As dawn broke outside, the sun poured in through the diner windows, washing over them in golden hues. Let South make this place brighter, Marco said, grinning widely. For everyone who stepped through these doors. And as the morning light refracted through the diner, hope radiated out into their hearts, an invitation to face new challenges, to create, to heal, and to remember. With tight-lipped smiles and full hearts, they turned toward the future armed with memories and unbreakable bonds that would guide them through whatever darkness lay ahead. So, what about you? Are you ready to embrace the light in your own life and share it with others? Take that first step, connect, and let your laughter fill the echoes of your story. Now is your chance to dive deep. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and fuel future adventures. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.